What's up, YouTube? So I've got a really amazing law of attraction success story, and this is how I pulled together a $50,000 a year business, which at that point in my life was probably the biggest and most life transformative thing, because what it meant for me was that I was no longer dependent on a job to provide me my basic income needs. I hadn't made it rich at that point in my life, and I hadn't solved the world's problems, but I was making enough that I could really sustain myself and my family without a job, and it meant I never had to go back to the workforce ever again. So it was really a pivotal point in my life, and so I'm going to tell you really quickly how that worked, what I did, and ultimately, this story is really about you, because I want to tell you the things I did that made that happen, so that you can bring those to your own manifestations, and so that you can pull in things and resources in your life in the way that hopefully I've been able to do that really are transformative. Because like I said, for me, not needing a job ever again and knowing that I would never have to enter the workforce was just like, I could it was a huge, huge celebration. So without further ado, let's do it. So this is the shit that nobody talks about, but the first 2 years I was in business for myself, I started an online business. A friend actually called me up. He had a real estate course, and he called me up. He's like, hey, I wrote a real estate course, and we are going to sell it on the internet. And I remember thinking, we? Who the fuck is we? You are going to sell your own course. And it was 2007, and my hometown is Windsor, Ontario, Canada, which is right near Detroit, so it's close enough to hear the gunshots without being hit. So, safe in Canada, but it's the same kind of industry. It was all car industry, and the economy had just gone to shit. And what that meant was I couldn't get a job if my life depended on it. I was very, very stressed. And I remember building this online business because I didn't really have a choice. I felt like a total loser. I was, sleeping with my girlfriend, and every day her family was giving it to her, like, why doesn't he get a job? And it was like, I couldn't even find a job at that time because there were so many layoffs. And so I decided to build this business for myself. And I remember after the first 2 years, it took us 2 years to get our first online sale. And I remember calling my friend excited, and I was like, someone just bought our course. We made $47. And he was like, who? And I was like, that's the best part. I don't know, right? And I remember just being so exhilarated that I had this tiny, tiny breakthrough. But my probably first 3 or 4 years were really, really brutal. And it wasn't until I decided to hey, I've seen The Secret. I've done this stuff. Why don't I actually do this in my business? Why am I chasing and working and grinding when I know that, I can draw these things into me? And for some reason, it had never occurred to me at that point. It was really, really interesting because when I first watched The Secret, I decided to actually test it, and I did a little meditation, and I was working in Fort McMurray, Alberta, Canada, which is like Santa Claus goes over twice a day because you're so far north and it's so cold. It's like minus 40 every day in the winter. It's just brutal. It's this oil town where people go basically because you can make a bunch of money working, and I was miserable there, but I was making a very high job income. And while I was there, it's all guys, right? Because you're in the middle of nowhere, and so it's like it's a sausage party, and I hadn't met a woman, and so I decided to just meditate and imagine that I would meet some girl. And I was literally walking out the door at 4:45 in the morning to go to a bus stop to go to the oil town, and there was some girl who said, hey, you work at Albion Sands, which is the name of the oil site. And I said, yeah, who are you? And she's like, I've seen you around. Do you want to ride? We can go together. And just like that, I met a girl out of nowhere. It literally just kind of fell in my lap at 4:45 in the morning. So I remember how mysterious when you manifest things and how seemingly random it can all come together. So I decided to do this in my business, and I was actually at pretty much rock bottom, and I decided to watch The Secret one more time, and I just imagined over and over and over this problem had been solved and my money needs had been taken care of. And my attitude switched from how can I get, to just thank you God, thank you God, thank you God. And I literally was so far back against the wall, so frustrated. And I had tried at this time, 20 different business ideas, and they were all kind of just having little tiny moderate amount of success, but nothing was really catching. And I remember just, hey, this is solved. And this is what's really, really key, because there's a tendency when you're manifesting to look at what's happening and react to it, and that's the worst thing that you can possibly do, is to look at the bank account that says nothing and to react to it, or to look at the business that's not going well and to react to it, and to let that determine what you're going to vibrate out in the world. And that's what most people do, by the way, which is why their manifestations don't work. So for me, this required almost completely just cutting off for 2 days, and I I reached a state where I really was thankful. I just like knew, I kept going inside myself till I knew that it was all going to work out. And then I had somebody reach out to me and said, hey, I have this website I'm trying to rank. It says here that you do backlinks, and I had done some SEO work, and it was like, can you help me do that? I'll give you like $500 for the month for it. And I said, sure, let's try it. And I didn't really think anything much of it. I did some work for him. And then after a month, they had like really amazing results. And then he reached out to me and said, oh, I was just testing you. I actually have like, I don't know, like 40 clients. I'd like you to do them all. And just like that, I had a $50,000 a year business that I had not had previously. And, that represented, like what I would probably have earned at a job. And so suddenly I was really, really in business for myself for the first time. And it allowed me to travel and to go anywhere and to work from a laptop. And, even though I hadn't like made it big at that point, it really, really changed my life. And so a lot of times people ask me like, how can I do that? And the moral of the story is if you're trying to manifest something, and for most people it's usually money. It's either money or a relationship or some health. I would say those are the big three in order. It is so key to disconnect your mental state from whatever is showing itself right now, because normal people would tell you that you're crazy and that you're retarded and that you need to get real and you need to get a job and all those kind of things when things aren't working out for you. And if you react to that, you're going to get in a vibration of like, hey, it's not working out, and you're just going to perpetuate that, and all your actions will resist you and it's not going to work out. But when you get into a state of like just really believing it's worked out and feeling that like on a deep level and like just knowing it and holding that for as long as you possibly can, what you'll find is that reality has to bend to you. And I've learned from doing this that it can happen really, really quickly. Like most of my money manifestations, when I really get the energy right, happen within days. Now that I've had some that have taken a really long time as well, but usually it's more because my state is like kind of wobbling back and forth. And so the biggest thing I would give you is just retreat in every way. And one of the things that really helped me that I think will help you is if you're at that point where you are kind of like experiencing the fear or the lack or the things like that, is don't try and stop those energies, try and transmute them. And so what I mean by that is when I would feel the intensity of the fear and the lack, which was very, very real and prevalent in my reality, I would use that intensity to take that and make it an intense gratitude, an intense like this is all solved. So I use that emotion, and it takes some like mental effort and work to move it from one to the other, but you can totally do that. And what you'll find is that kind of scarcity and worry is actually a blessing in disguise, because one of the challenges that's actually really hard is when you're doing really, really well, it becomes sometimes harder to manifest because you don't need it. And so you don't have that same emotional intensity. And so when you're giving your gratitude, it's like a little bit more wouldn't really change your life that much. So it's actually harder sometimes to manifest when you already have it. And so it's actually really a blessing when like your back's against the wall and everything seems really shit. You can change it really quickly. And what I learned from doing that whole thing is that you can go from like zero to, at my time, that was my goal. I wanted to be able to not have to work for a living for somebody else. If I could just earn enough that I would earn at a job, and not have to do that for somebody else, that would be life-changing for me. And it turned out it was pretty damn life-changing. And all that effort and all my ideas and all my working didn't really work out until I got my vibration straight. And the moment I got my vibration state right, shit changed in 2 days. So whatever that is for you, really retreat, get into your faith, get into your knowing, and milk that state and stay there and allow that scarcity. Every time you feel that scarcity, mentally pull it over to just knowing it's worked out. And that means when you come out of like whatever meditation you're in, you can be talking to somebody face to face and they don't hear your internal voice, but your internal voice is still in that, thank you, this is already solved, thank you. And really, really meaning that, really, really feeling that. And what you'll find is just, this like relief pervades over your reality. At least if you're experiencing scarcity like I was, when the idea of not scarcity comes, it's like it's relief. And I was just like, oh, thank you. Like I don't have to worry about this shit anymore. And so that was my experience with doing that. Having done this for like 12 years, you can really take that to whole levels beyond that. But I think for a lot of people watching this, being in a similar state, going from 0 to 50,000 would probably just be life-changing to. And if you're interested in doing that, by the way, not just like earning, you know, enough to get started, but earning enough to like really impact the world and make a difference. That's what we teach people, and we do that using sacred plants because we're really cool like that. And so if you're interested in those two things, there's a link for you below. It'll show you really how to find your life purpose, which is building a business that you're actually really going to love and you're going to feel inspired to do. Because I think that's the next big game changer after being able to earn enough where you don't have to depend on anyone else. And if you're interested in that, click the link below. I'll put it in the video description. I'll pin it in the comments, and grab it because it's awesome. And don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment, because I would love to hear your experience as well as your questions, and maybe we can turn this comment section into a way where we can all help people with ideas that help you get your mental state straight, because manifesting is really fucking cool when you get it right. So, all right guys, love you.